Hey everyone, and welcome to the deep dive. We're headed to Singapore today for a deep dive into open educational resources and how they're being used in physics
Oh,
education.
very cool.
Yeah, our main source is a blog post about the second physics education seminar
Okay.
held back in 2013.
Right.
So it's like a little time capsule
I like it.
showing us how educators were already using open source simulations and things like blended learning to make physics more engaging.
Yeah. It's really fascinating to look back and see how forward-thinking these educators were.
Yeah.
The seminar wasn't just like a small gathering either.
Right.
It was organized by some pretty big names in Singapore's education scene.
Okay.
We're talking NUS High School of Math and Science,
Wow.
the Institute of Physics,
Okay.
and the Center for Quantum Technologies.
Mhm.
Even the Ministry of Education was involved.
Oh, wow.
So, they were serious about physics education.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
The blog post mentions a presentation titled The Blended Approach for 21st Century Teaching, delivered by Dr. Charles Chu and Mr. Wee-Lu Kang.
Right.
Now, before we go any further,
Yeah.
can you break down what blended learning actually means?
Of course.
Right.
Blended learning is really all about combining traditional face-to-face teaching with online learning experiences.
Okay.
It's like, you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
You still have interaction with the teacher and your classmates, but you also get to use interactive simulations and online projects, and you can learn at your own pace using digital resources.
So it's not about replacing teachers with technology.
Exactly.
It's more about supporting and enhancing learning.
Finding the best ways to use technology to improve things.
Yeah, I like that. The presentation also mentioned two learning theories, constructivism and connectivism.
Yes.
How do those tie into blended learning?
Well, constructivism is the idea that we learn best by actively building our understanding through our experiences and interactions.
Okay.
It's kind of like learning to ride a bike. You can read about it all you want, but you don't really get it until you try it yourself.
Right. You have to do it.
Yeah. And blended learning gives you more opportunities for that hands-on learning, both in the classroom and online.
Makes sense.
Now, connectivism, on the other hand, that emphasizes the role of networks and connections in learning.
Interesting.
Think about how you learn something new.
Okay.
You might read an article, you watch a video, you talk about it with a friend, and suddenly all these different pieces of information connect in your mind.
Yeah.
That's connectivism. And blended learning can make those connections happen more easily because it lets students collaborate, share ideas, and learn from each other,
Yeah.
both online and offline.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Blended learning can create a really rich learning environment.
Absolutely.
The blog post briefly mentions the TSOI Hybrid Learning Model in this context.
Yes.
Is that a specific framework for putting blended learning into practice?
It is. It's a framework developed by Dr. Ruben Puentedora, and it gives us a way to think about how we integrate technology into education.
Okay.
It stands for technological, pedagogical content, and social.
So TSOI.
Yeah, highlighting how those four elements all work together.
Interesting.
Now, the blog post doesn't go into detail about how the TSOI model was used at the seminar,
Right.
but we can assume it was presented as a way to help educators design effective blended learning experiences.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It could encourage them to think about how to use technology to improve their teaching methods, or to present content in new ways, or to help students collaborate and interact more.
So the TSOI model gives educators a kind of roadmap
Yeah, you could say that.
to help them make good choices about how to use technology.
That's the idea, using technology in a strategic and thoughtful way.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Speaking of using technology thoughtfully, let's look at some of the examples of open source physics simulations that were showcased at the seminar.
Sure.
The first one they mentioned is the EJS open source alternating current generator model Java applet. Even the name sounds pretty high tech.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
What can you tell us about this one?
Well, this simulation is a great example of how technology can make complex concepts more accessible and fun to learn.
Okay.
Imagine you're trying to understand how an alternating current generator works.
Right.
You could read about it in a textbook, but it might be hard to picture.
Yeah, definitely.
But with this simulation, you can actually interact with a virtual model.
Oh, cool.
You can change variables like the rotation speed or the strength of the magnetic field,
Wow.
and you can see how that affects the current output. It's like having your own virtual lab.
That's awesome. I bet that makes learning about electricity a lot more interactive and fun.
You bet. Instead of just memorizing facts, students can experiment and really see how things work for themselves.
Yeah.
And that helps them understand the concepts on a much deeper level.
I bet. And that ties back to the constructivist learning we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. By actively engaging with the simulation,
Yeah.
students are building their own understanding of how things work.
Yeah.
They're not just passively taking in information.
Right. They're actively figuring it out.
That's right. The seminar also highlighted another simulation called the falling magnet through coil simulation.
Okay. What's special about that one?
Well, the interesting thing about this one is that it wasn't created by just one person.
Oh.
It was a collaborative effort with multiple people contributing to its development.
Interesting.
This is one of the best things about open educational resources.
What's that?
Collaboration and sharing.
Right.
Instead of each teacher having to start from scratch.
Yeah.
They can build on what others have already done and create a huge pool of resources that everyone can use.
That's amazing. And it gets even better.
Oh.
The blog post links to worksheets that were created by different junior colleges in Singapore
Very cool.
to go along with the simulation,
Perfect.
showing how it could be used in actual lesson plans.
That's fantastic.
Utica.
It's a great example of how open educational resources can help teachers.
Yeah.
Imagine you're a physics teacher and you're planning a lesson on electromagnetism.
Right. You find this amazing simulation online.
Okay.
And then you find all these ready-made worksheets that other teachers have created.
Wow.
It saves so much time,
I bet.
and it lets you focus on what you do best teaching.
That's a great point. It's like a whole community of educators working together
Exactly.
to support each other and create great learning experiences for their students.
It really is inspiring.
It's clear that the seminar was a big advocate for using these simulations.
Yes.
But it also emphasized that simulations shouldn't completely replace hands-on experiments with real equipment.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
Well, simulations are really good for visualizing and exploring concepts,
Okay.
but they can't fully replicate working with physical objects.
Right. You're not really touching anything.
Yeah, there's just something about feeling the weight of a magnet or seeing a spark from a circuit or hearing that click of a Geiger counter.
I see what you mean.
It makes physics come to life.
Yeah.
Those real experiences help students connect with the subject in a deeper way. It's about finding a balance then, right?
Yes.
Using simulations to enhance learning, but not forgetting about real-world experiences.
Exactly. And that blended approach really fits with the seminar's focus on blended learning in general.
Yeah, it's like a theme that runs through the whole event.
Right.
Finding the best ways to blend different approaches,
Absolutely.
like traditional teaching and online learning,
Yeah.
or simulations and hands-on experiments.
It's all about creating a rich learning environment
Right. One that caters to different learning styles.
and gives students a variety of ways to connect with the material.
Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I wanted to mention something I saw in the seminar's photo gallery.
Okay.
They were giving out 8 GB thumb drives.
Oh, wow.
I know, right?
That's a blast from the past.
Yeah, it reminds us just how much technology has changed.
Yeah, today we have cloud storage and all these online platforms.
Right, we take it for granted.
But back then, a thumb drive was really valuable.
Yeah, for sharing files and stuff. It shows how far we've come in such a short time.
It does. But even back then, the ideas of open access and collaboration were already shaping the future of education.
Yeah, and that's something we'll explore further in the next part of our deep dive, so stay tuned.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Those 8 GB thumb drives. Yeah, it's amazing how fast technology changes.
It really is.
But, you know, it also shows that the ideas behind open educational resources,
Right.
accessibility, collaboration, innovation,
Yeah.
those are still super relevant today.
That's a great point. And speaking of innovation, the seminar really highlighted some cutting-edge ways that they were using those open source simulations in the classroom.
Definitely.
Like we talked about the EJS open source alternating current generator model in the last part.
Right?
It's pretty cool to think that students back then already had access to those kinds of interactive tools.
Yeah, it was really ahead of its time. That simulation let students play around with the virtual AC generator,
Yeah.
change the rotation speed, the magnetic field strength, all sorts of things, and then see how it affected the current output right away.
It's so much better than just reading about it in a textbook, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And there's research that shows it actually helps students learn better.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when students can change different variables and see the results right there in front of them,
Yeah.
it helps them understand the underlying concepts more deeply.
Makes sense.
It's like it takes learning from the abstract and makes it more concrete. Plus, it ties back to that constructivist approach we talked about,
Right.
where students are actively building their knowledge through experimentation.
And it's not just about learning by yourself either.
No, you're right.
The seminar really emphasized the collaborative side of open educational resources too,
Exactly.
like with the falling magnet through coil simulation.
That was a perfect example.
Yeah, what was so special about that one again?
Well, that simulation was a team effort.
Okay.
Lots of people contributed to its development.
Hmm.
But what's even more impressive is that other educators took that simulation and built on it.
Okay.
Made worksheets, lesson plans, all kinds of things.
Wow.
So it's super easy for other teachers to use it in their own classrooms.
That's a perfect example of how open resources can create a community
Exactly.
among educators. I mean, everybody wins when you share ideas and work together.
And think about it, it's not just one classroom or one school.
Right.
With open educational resources, teachers from all over the world
Yeah.
can share their work and learn from each other.
It's like a global network of teachers.
Exactly. All supporting each other and coming up with new ways to teach.
That's so cool. It's amazing to think about how much of an impact that could have.
It really is.
Yeah.
It makes quality learning materials available to everyone.
That's so important. Now, the seminar wasn't just about simulations, though, right?
No, it wasn't.
They were also big on balancing virtual learning with real-world experiences.
Absolutely.
Why is that so important?
Well, simulations are great tools,
Yeah.
but they can't completely replace the feeling of working with real objects.
Yeah, I get that.
There's something special about holding a magnet in your hand
Right.
or watching a chemical reaction happen right in front of you.
It's more engaging somehow.
Exactly. Those tangible experiences help students really connect with what they're learning.
It's about going beyond just the theory
Right.
and bringing those concepts to life.
Exactly. So it sounds like they were advocating for a really well-rounded approach to physics education,
Yeah.
one that combines the best of both worlds, the virtual and the real.
The theoretical and the practical.
Exactly.
Oh.
It all comes back to that idea of blended learning.
Right, which is a theme throughout this whole seminar.
Absolutely. It's about finding the right mix of approaches
Yeah.
to create a learning experience that really works for students.
We've talked about what open source simulations, blended learning, hands-on experiments.
Yeah.
But I'm also curious about the why. Why were these educators in Singapore so passionate about this stuff?
I think it boils down to this. They really believed in the power of education. They saw open educational resources and blended learning as ways to make physics
Right.
more accessible, more engaging, more relevant for all their students.
It's a beautiful thought, really.
It is.
And it makes me wonder if this seminar led to any big changes in education in Singapore. Did these ideas catch on? Did they have a lasting impact?
That's a great question, and it's something we'll look at in the final part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned.
We'll explore the legacy of this seminar and see how it fits into the broader trends in education.
So we've been on this journey back to 2013, checking out this physics education seminar in Singapore.
It's like a time machine, right?
Yeah,
So-
totally. It's fascinating to see how they were already embracing open resources and blended learning.
It really is. And they had a clear vision for what they wanted education to be.
Yeah, making physics more accessible, engaging, and relevant for every student.
Exactly. But the big question is, did that vision actually lead to real change?
Right. Did this seminar make a difference in the long run?
Well, it's tough to say for sure just based on this one blog post, but it definitely reflects some big trends that were happening in education back then. In the early 2010s, there was a growing movement toward open educational resources and blended learning.
So this seminar wasn't just a one-time thing.
No, not at all. People were starting to see the potential of technology to really change how we teach and learn.
And that conversation has just kept growing since then, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We've seen this huge explosion of online learning platforms, open educational resources, all sorts of new teaching tools.
It's amazing how much has changed in a relatively short time.
It really is. But, you know, some things never change.
Like what?
The importance of a good teacher.
Right.
Technology can definitely make learning better,
Yeah.
but it can't replace a skilled educator, someone who can guide and inspire their students.
I agree completely. It goes back to that balance we keep talking about.
Exactly.
Finding the right mix of technology and human interaction.
It's about using the best of both worlds.
And that brings us back to something you mentioned earlier, the why behind all of this.
Right.
Why were these educators so passionate about open resources and blended learning?
I think it comes down to a belief in the power of education.
Okay.
They wanted to empower people and help them create a better future.
And by making education more accessible and engaging.
Exactly. We give everyone the chance to learn and grow and reach their full potential.
And it's not just about individual growth either, is it?
No, it's not.
It's about creating a better society as a whole.
You got it. When people have access to knowledge and the tools to learn,
Yeah.
they can contribute more to their communities, to the world.
So wrapping up our deep dive into this seminar,
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that it's not just about the technology or the methods. It's about a vision for the future of education.
Right, a vision where education is more inclusive and empowering for everyone.
Exactly. And that's a vision we can all be a part of.
Absolutely. Whether we're teachers, students, or just lifelong learners.
We can all help shape the future of learning.
And on that note, we'd love to hear from you, our listeners.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on open educational resources and blended learning?
How do you see the future of education unfolding?
Share your ideas on our website or join the conversation on social media.
We're always excited to hear your perspectives and learn from your experiences.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
See you then.